Starting the year 2024 with news about insecurity and explosions dominating the headline is not an encouraging way to usher in a new year. We've had the kidnapping situation in the Federal Capital Territory and the explosion in Ibadan, Oyo State, that left 5 people dead and 77 injured. The rise in criminal activities in the Federal Capital Territory FCT has spurred the Inspector General of Police IGP Kayode Okunnu to launch a special intervention squad to tackle the issue. Joining us on the morning show to discuss perennial problem of insecurity is Alhaji Femi Okunnu, an elder statesman. He would also be discussing the planned relocation of the headquarters of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria and some departments of the Central Bank of Nigeria from Abuja, the nation's federal capital, to Lagos, which some groups have kicked against. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us. Well, let's start with the relocation of some departments of the Central Bank to Lagos, and also the relocation of the Federal Airport Authority also to Lagos. Does this make sound economic decision, or is this in pursuit of the demand by Lagosians, even led by President Tinubu himself, for a special status for Lagos? Is this in that direction, or is this something that makes sound economic decision in your view? Now that other Nigerians are saying that maybe the Ministry of Trade and Investment should be relocated to Onitsha, should be taken to Onitsha, and maybe Ministry of Mines and Steel Development should be taken to Zamfara State, if we're saying that certain ministries, certain departments are better suited in certain places in Nigeria. What do you think?
Welcome from the cold, Ruben.
Thank you, sir.
I watch your program practically every morning. Now, to the question about relocation of certain federal government parastatals, I don't think we need to read anything political or otherwise into this arrangement. I think we should leave the government to pursue its policy, choose its location for the for pursuit of its policy in any part of the country. Most of the policies, of course, should be pursued at the federal capital. But there is no special status for Lagos. Lagos does not need any special status. I disagree with those who, out of context, when Lagos ceased to be the federal capital, started to demand for special status for Lagos. That has its own historical meaning. The special status at that time, before the move to Abuja, was because diplomatic missions, for example, did not pay, and they don't pay rates which ordinary persons and companies pay. They're exempted from that. So that's basically what gave rise to special vote for Lagos. But that ceased to apply when the federal capital was moved to Abuja. No, there should be no special status for Lagos other than Lagos being the commercial capital of the country, unofficially.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, and thank you for joining us today. I'd like to move a little towards the FCT. As you mentioned, you watch the show every day, so you would obviously be abreast of what we've been discussing in terms of the security situation or perhaps the insecurity situation in Nigeria. especially with the recent happenings in Abuja, kidnapping. And we also have issues of banditry and herdsmen-farmer clashes in other parts of the country. I'd like to ask you, in terms of the responses from the government, including the establishment of the Special Intervention Squad by the IG of Police, do you think this administration has started on the right note to dealing decisively with insecurity in Nigeria?
Well, I think the administration will still need advice about tackling security. The security situation is created by international forces. We have the problem of the Middle East, the invasion of Iraq some years ago by America and Britain about weapons of mass destruction. These are a fallout of the insecurity created in the Middle East. And we then have on our continent Islamic movement which has been terrorizing northern Africa, especially operating actively in Niger, in northern Nigeria, in northern belt of West Africa. It's very sad to see people creating insecurity in our community. We should all be facing development, progress of economic development, not insecurity. Abuja should be well protected. Every part of the country should be well protected. Whether Northeast, where the problem started some years ago, is spread to every corner of the country. It's very appalling. I listened to one of your programs when about retired generals' view. Their views should be taken into consideration by the administration in tackling the insecurity which the country, unfortunately, is facing today.
Okay, sir. I want you to, as an elder statesman, tell me your reaction to the kidnapping and the killings in Abuja. I just understood that Nabena, the lady that was killed, was supposed to have her graduation. Nabina, the lady that was supposed to have her graduation on the 27th of this month. And they said that she had actually graduated with a first class. And the discordant tunes between the police, that it took the family of the victims yesterday coming to say that, no, we paid the ransom. And we are hearing that, oh, we rescued them. We collected them. And also, you were a federal, commissioner in this country. When you hear about the cases of procurement, appropriation, anyway, still being investigated by the Minister of Humanitarian Services, I mean, what do you make of all of this?
As I've said earlier, security of Abuja, the federal capital, is paramount because that's the seat of our government. The presidency is situated there. The legislature, Senate, and the House of Assembly of Representatives is also situated there. The Supreme Court of Nigeria is also situated there. It is the federal capital. It has the number one priority in terms of security. It's very, very sad that any Nigerian should be subject to this insecurity in any part of the country. Very sad about the case of, the young graduate whose relations paid money and she was still killed. These events in the country are very appalling.
It looks like we have an audio connection problem there. We'll take a quick break and then we'll return to the conversation with Alhaji Femi Okunnu, Elder Statesman. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Our guest is still Alhaji Femi Okunnu, SAN. We were talking about insecurity, and there was that other question about Humanitarian Affairs Department that was asked by Rufai Hosseini. If you may just continue from where you left off, sir.
Thank you very much. Now, the insecurity, the country as a whole must be well protected. Of course, including the federal capital of Abuja. Insecurity is not something we should play with. And I hope that the president will make sure that he has the best advice within the services and also among those who have retired from the service. They may still have some useful information or advice to give the president some tips from their experience. As regards the pilfering of money by political parties, you see, when the British left the country, they left a very good civil service. The administration was very good. In 1958, there was Nigerianization policy, which led to recruitment of the best brains in the public service. Until the time, the regime of, I believe, General Babaginda, the permanent secretary of a ministry was the accounting officer, not the minister. But Babangida changed it from permanent, took it away from the permanent secretary to the political appointee. That is one vital error which the government, I hope, will correct. Make the permanent secretary of the ministry, who has worked through the years, let him be the accounting officer and not the minister. The minister should not touch a kobo. In all my 7 years, 7 months in Gawan's government, I didn't touch a kobo. It was the permanent secretary who will account for the money voted for the ministry every year, and that's all. So restore the office of accounting officer to the permanent secretary. Is there before the minister was appointed. He will remain there, or his colleague will remain there after the minister has left. The civil service was degraded after the purge of 1976, 75 rather, by the late General Muritala Mohammed and General Obasanjo, who took over when he was assassinated, I think in February 1976. the civil service has not recovered from that purge till today. Restore the civil service to its old role. Politicians come, politicians go. Ministers come, ministers go. From different backgrounds. The civil service, the civil servant, before you become a permanent secretary, you climb the ladder. And your past, this is your life, as it were, before you become. So that error, I believe, is vital and it should be corrected. Ministers should not touch money. Even traveling expenses, in my days when General Gawan was head of state, were kept by the officials traveling with me. So restore that status to the civil servant, not a minister to handle money. The background of the minister, you don't know the background of the minister. The president appoints, after consultation with political aides or associates. It's short term, but the civil service is there. Strengthen the civil service. And I think that will solve a lot of problems about money disappearing, money being paid into private accounts by politicians. By politicians. No. It shouldn't be.
But sir, I would like to go back to the question with which we started, which is about the relocation of departments and headquarters across the country. There are some Lagosians who are saying that, in fact, it's not just departments of CBN or Aviation Authority that should come back to Lagos. That the Ports Authority, the headquarters of Nigerian Ports Authority, should not be in Abuja. And that the Maritime Authority, the agency called NEMASA, should not have its headquarters in Abuja. After all, there is no waterway in Abuja. That those departments, their headquarters, their main operations should be in Lagos. What do you think? And then there's this other unresolved question, and it's a good opportunity to have it with us today, about works. You were Federal Commissioner for Works. And we had on this program, Chief Olabode George, who was accusing former governor, former minister, Babatunde Rajiv Fashola, SAN, of not using his position as a person who also occupied that ministry to do roads in Lagos. And he said it clearly on this program, that was scandalous. You once occupied that ministry during Gowon's time as head of state. Is it standard practice for a minister of works to first of all pay attention to where he comes from as an obligation to his people? And then, of course, the other question about what other departments should come to Lagos.
First of all, I will restate my point about relocation of departments, of ministries to any part of the country. I would prefer to leave that for the presidency, the head of the administration, where he wants a department to be moved to. Basically, the federal capital should house all the departments. But for whatever reasons, political, strategic, or whatever, he wants to relocate some departments, not the whole ministry. Some departments. If a Ports Authority, for example, well, you would need to be near water. So if the government decides to relocate some of the NPA departments to Warri, for example, to Calabar, they are on the sea. To me, the government or the presidency should be left to decide what he wants for the best of the, for the good of the country. I don't know about these Lagosians who made demands. I am in the heart of Lagos. I've been in Lagos all my 91 years, or 19 years. I'll be 91 next month. I've not heard of any agitation by people of Lagos State. You say Lagosians. Oh no. I'm not aware of any agitation or some departments being relocated to Lagos. No, I'm not. Maybe some fringe characters. And let me say this. I'm a Nigerian. At the outbreak of the Civil War, I said to myself, and I stood by that if Lagos State, newly created on the day Gowon appointed its federal commissioners, 26th May 1967. If Lagos State was in rebellion against Nigerian government, I, Lateef Olufemi Okunnu, would be on the side of Nigeria. And I hope that all of us, for goodness sake, let us believe in Nigeria. Let us live as Nigerians. This idea of state of origin should be limited to political decisions in certain areas. Let us believe in Nigeria. Let us live as Nigerians. I haven't seen any Indian who comes forward to say, oh, I'm an Indian from Gujarat State and local government. Let us debase this idea of local government and statism. We are foremost Nigerians. We should remain as Nigerians. I don't believe in all the cultural organizations, yes. But the cultural organizations, the ethnic organizations are moved into a political arena. The Lagos I grew up in, I'm talking of the 40s and the 50s, and as a young man in the 60s and so on. Nigeria was one. If Lagos were Nigeria, what beautiful country this country would be. Nnamdi Azikiwe was born in Zungeru of Onitsha parentage. He was a hero of young persons in those days. He won election in Lagos on the platform of Democratic Party NCNC Alliance against NYM, Nigerian Youth Movement, founded by Dr. Von and others, Dr. Von, Dr. Maja, and so on, in 1932. Democratic Party, founded by Herbert Macaulay in 1922, when Clifford's Constitution came into being. So Nigerians were one. They voted an Igbo man here. I was a Zikist most of my life. Talking personally, I admire Chief Awolowo as leader of Action Group. My first impression of him and my first sight of him was when, in 1958, he agreed his own delegation Action Group who went to London for constitutional talks and were angered, that's the Nigerians in Britain, by coming every year to hold talks, and we said we should protect taxpayers' money and hold the talks in Lagos. NPC refused to see us on that, and that's great. Even Zik NCNC refused to receive the delegation of Nigeria Union of Great Britain and Ireland, which I had the honor to lead, to meet the various political parties.
Right.
NEPO, no problem. Chief Olowo, with many non-action group members in the union,
Right.
who are not partisan,
Yes, sir.
received us. And my first impression of him was, this is a leader.
Yes, sir.
Because he was in control of, full control of his delegation.
All right.
So Lagos represented Nigeria in those days. I hope we still represent Nigeria today. So the spark between Bode George and Tunde Fashola, I'm not part of it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your insight this morning, Alhaji Femi Okunnu. It's always an honor to have you join us on the morning show. Thank you.